Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. This morning I'm looking at the new edition of Paterson's Licensing Acts. It's now in 2015, it's actually edition 123. This is volume 1, which has also got in it a CD, and in addition to that it's got useful stuff on the front and the back cover. Very up-to-date information. There's the spine and then there's the back of it, and there's quite a lot of information explaining what it's all about. The people who've written it are Jeremy Phillips as editor-in-chief, Simon Mehigan, Queen's Counsel, as general editor, Gerald Gourier, Queen's Counsel, as general editor, and the Honourable Mr Justice Saunders as general editor. That's actually volume 1. You can see it's got some useful shadings on the side for the various boxes. I'm not going to go through the whole detail now, but let's just have a look at the way it's laid out. You've obviously got a lot of legislation. For instance, there's some which is listed there. You've got the CPR rules at the back. This is all in volume 1, and you've got right at the back here an index, which I'm just going to get to. You can see the index, which is fairly straightforward. It's very detailed. It's very much part of a LexisNexis style. There's the main front page, which is extremely useful as well. The consulting editor, who's not mentioned on the front, by the way, is David Wilson. Then you've got an extremely useful preface, which is detailed and pretty long. But it's useful to read because it's got a lot of the new cases in. Then you have the standard tables of statutes and statutory instruments. There are the table of cases. Then you go straight in. There's quite an interesting introductory bit, which I think is quite important. Let's get to it. The pages are very thin. It starts off with alcohol, refreshment and entertaining licensing. And that, of course, is a big area for the councils, and it deals with everything you want to know, in fact, in some detail. That is volume 1, and the CD is for December 2014. And I'll talk about the CD in a minute. Now, volume 2 is this one here, and that deals with betting, gaming and lotteries. You can see it's the same front cover, effectively. Well, not the same front, but it's a different concept from the past. There's the spine and there's the back. The book again has the usual stuff, and use of the inside front covers on new case law, and on the back general terms, which is quite useful, again using up all the space concerned. You've then got the index again at the back, and then the structure as usual. There's a lot of shading. You can see the shaded areas to find what you're looking for. But the structure is just as I mentioned with the other one. It's the standard structure of the Acts of Parliament themselves, which are laid out in a normal format. And if we just go through the standard part at the front, you do have various commentaries concerning the Acts. You have again the standard tables of cases and so forth, and they lead into the there's a commentary which you can see is listed there, and again you've got a bit of paragraph numbering, which is quite useful to find things quite quickly. And as usual, it's very much in part of the house style for LexisNexis, and these books are very good. They're a totally different cover from the way they were before, and that has caused some interest, I think, with the users, because in the past it's been a sort of brown cover, looked more like a law report. This stands out and will certainly stand out both in any hearings we have in the local authorities and or any court cases. The book is very noticeable. I actually like it. It's very modern, a bit garish perhaps, but I think it's very much in tune with what we're doing today. So thank you for taking the courageous decision at Lexis to do that. Now, this is what we say about the the 2 volumes. We describe it in our review. This review has been written by myself and my wife Elizabeth. We describe it as the Bible of licensing law in England and Wales, now in a new edition. And as I say, this edition is for 2015, and it's the 123rd edition. And we say the following: there are certain human activities which, no matter how innocently pursued, can lead to a heap of trouble, from inconvenience and annoyance to poverty, leading to poverty, social unrest and crime. Civilised societies therefore need to impose controls, hence the necessity to have this form of licensing, and the need for both legal practitioners and advisors in England and Wales, and that will therefore mean the necessity of acquiring this definitive new work of reference for 2015 on what's a massive subject, and it's Paterson's Licensing Acts, published by LexisNexis. Now, as I've said before, the subtitle of this new 2-volume edition of Paterson's indicate precisely the activities for which the acquisition of licensing is a legal obligation. Volume 1 covers alcohol, refreshment, taxi and street trading licensing. Bit controversial, all of that stuff. Volume 2 deals with betting, gaming and lotteries. So you can see, probably for many people, Volume 1 is the big volume because it deals with such a wide area, certainly in local government activity. You might be tempted to observe that Paterson's is a paradox. It's first published, of course, in 1876, and it's one of the oldest legal texts available. Yet, though frequent, timely and erudite updating, it has remained, in our view, forever young. And I think the important thing to remember is it was very much part of the Halsbury structure, but it's tended to go off a bit because of the way in which it's become so important for a work both as elected members of councils and, of course, as barristers and solicitors doing these cases either in the local authority hearings or in fact in court. We say it has consistently maintained its reputation as the Bible on licensing law in England and Wales, and for over a century has been frequently cited in court and before magistrates and licensing committees. I think it's important to note, as I said before, that they've used the inside front covers of both volumes and the back covers to list decisions of senior courts citing Paterson's Licensing Acts from 1898 to 2013, and so that actually does help them. That's obviously for the front cover. The back cover is also used for other information. Not only has Paterson's evolved as the voice of authority in licensing matters, it also shines brightly in the great galaxy of legal tomes as startlingly readable, which, in addition to its topicality, has to be one of the secrets of its enduring success. One example of its positive, reader-friendly, in this case landlord-friendly approach is the section on selling alcohol responsibly, which contains subsections on no irresponsible promotions, including those which encourage excessive consumption via speed drinking games or all you can drink for £10 deals, or notoriously women drink for free. For the more abstemious, free tap water for customers must be provided on request. You have been told. You will also be pleased to note that this new edition contains much new material, commentary and background on which can be found, for example, in the helpful introductory sections of each volume. Recent case law is reviewed, including new and anticipated changes, and as the publishers explain, the book incorporates all relevant legislation, regulations, orders, standard forms and precedents, and the result is a completely up-to-date reference source. I say book because obviously it's the book, but it's got the 2 volumes, and they are very similar. They stand alone, but they're very, very similar. As you would expect, Paterson's is logically structured for ease of use as indicated by the numbered paragraphs throughout, the detailed table of contents and the extensive index in each volume, plus of course the table of statutes, statutory instruments and cases. It's also available now as an e-book, and Paterson's comes with an accompanying easy to search CD-ROM, which I showed you. That's dated for the end of 2014. If you're a registered practitioner, you will also receive a free updated version of the CD-ROM mid-year, which will certainly keep you abreast of changes in this volatile and complex and controversial area of the law. Obviously the materials which are on the CD-ROM actually have additional information which is no longer in the published volume, because you can have a great deal of information on that CD-ROM anyway. Let me conclude by saying that whether you're a specialist in this field or not, or a relative newcomer, the latest edition of Paterson's for 2015 will augment your knowledge, enhance your confidence as an advisor, and save you a bit of time too. Specialists in particular should regard this edition as a must-have purchase. I mean, that goes without saying, they're bound to get it. And the publication date is cited at 2014. I'll just run through very quickly again what it looks like. It's heavy. I didn't say how many pages, but I mean it's 2,500. That's for volume 2, and for volume 1, just got the nice neon sign with open, stands out. You've again got 2,800 odd pages. That's, as I say, the CD-ROM with you. And let me just again point out that's the case law at the front, which is extremely useful because quite often, depending on what you've done, I've done a number of these types of case. Whenever you deal with any of that information, you do need to have a fairly wide understanding of how the case law operates. I would like to thank the author. I can't mention them all by name again, but I'd like to thank all of the individual editors-in-chief who are listed on the front, the gentleman here, because I think they've done an awfully good job to produce this. I happen to know one of them anyway, but I think they've done an extremely good job with this 2015 edition. So I'd like to thank LexisNexis and the team of people for giving us what is the definitive statement, clearly, on licensing law and how we deal with the procedures and the issues that are raised. I think it's something that certainly all local authority elected members who sit on licensing panels should be aware of, because it's a publication which has got a lot of common sense in it. Thank you to all concerned anyway. Bye bye.